Hi, everybody. We're live. I'm Elizabeth Matherne with Kuck, Baxter Immigration, coming to you from our South Georgia office. I was watching President Biden give his speech. We've been fielding about sanctions. I don't know if that's live or not still. We've been fielding questions from clients and family members about Ukraine. What's going on? What should they do? How can people get out? We'll talk about that a little bit. I mean, it's really early to be able to tell much, but we can talk about it. I can field some questions. You know, we know Moscow hasn't been processing things for a while now, so we've kind of already been dealing with that. But we can talk about it. In other news, I'm trying to find my notes here with the other news that I wanted to talk to you guys about. All of it seems so inconsequential with what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, and so kind of hard to talk about that stuff, but we will. I'll also field any of your questions. If you have questions about anything related to removal defense, family-based, humanitarian, U visas, T visas, VAWA, that kind of stuff, Asylum, anything you want to ask me, feel free to ask me. Yeah, let's jump into it. Okay, so I've got, let's see, the last few things I was thinking about to go over today, in addition to Ukraine, right, is the March visa bulletin. I think we talked about that last time. March visa bulletin has got some retrogression. I think last time we talked about the what is it, E4, a special immigrant juvenile petition for, or sorry, lawful permanent resident applications for those who are granted special immigrant juvenile status, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras. Those are backlogged, retrogressed. I also saw F2B retrogressed 2 years. So that visa bulletin not looking good. Okay, public charge. That's the one I was trying to remember. Biden is trying to do some work on public charge to put it in the Federal Register and clarify some things. So let me read to you what their focus is. So they're saying that they are trying to change it from likely to become a public charge to likely to become primarily dependent on government subsistence. So interesting. I guess they're trying to clarify that so that it won't be so open and subject to maybe a different administration sort of using it to like hurt families, basically. That's what we saw in the last administration. So that's positive, I guess. They are saying that consistent with longstanding agency practice, DHS proposes to consider the following benefits when making a public charge in admissibility determination, and that includes SSI, SNAP, or they call it, oh, sorry, not SNAP, TANF, which is temporary assistance for needy families, income maintenance based on state or local rules, long-term institutional government expense. Institutionalization at government expense. I wonder what that's supposed to mean. I wonder if being incarcerated for a period of time would be held against you. I don't know. That's weird. Okay. Well, anyway, let's see. We've got some questions rolling in. Keep them coming. And I also want to give you guys what I know about what's going on in Ukraine, which isn't expansive, but we can talk a little bit about maybe visas and stuff like that. Okay. Let's see what we've got. Claudia is asking, how long is it taking for approval of advanced parole? They reseated in November. Okay, so you're November, December, January, February. So you're at 3 months. I've been seeing them coming in about 3 to 6 months. So Claudia, you're right there. You should be in the next couple of months getting a decision. So let's see. Yeah, good luck with that. And remember, folks, that you can look up the average processing times on the USCIS website. That maybe isn't the best guidance, and that's why you guys ask me, like, so you can get a pulse on what we're seeing just anecdotally. Those numbers that you find online are what the government reports as not the window of time, because it's like a range of months. That's not like the slowest and the slowest and the fastest. It's actually a range for the average, which I think is so confusing. I don't know why they report it like that. They should just take the average. Anyway, and that's my understanding of the numbers. I could be wrong, but that's what I think it means. Okay, Carolina was arrested for no driver's license. She had this. Okay, Carolina, she had a voluntary departure, but she returned with a visa, a work visa, 3 years ago. Oh no, sorry, returned with a work visa. She has 3 years. Okay, Carolina, necesitamos hablar en privada. Pienso que son detalles de su vida, son un poquito, I don't know, importante. Si usted quisiera hacer una cita conmigo, por favor, llama a mi oficina y podemos hablar en privada, ¿ok? O si usted prefiere, dame una mensaje privada y podemos hablar con eso. Okay, so, a lot of times this is a public forum, so I don't want to necessarily get into people like real detailed questions. I want to be able to answer your questions in general, right? Because our Facebook Lives are not legal advice. Okay, de nada. Con placer. And we want to protect your privacy, right? So sometimes it's really important when we do need to speak about specific facts to be able to give you any kind of idea of what you have available to you. And we've got to do a consultation, right? Everything that we do here on Facebook Live is just general answering questions, not legal advice. So it's fun to talk about stuff and banter and talk in general terms, but when it comes down to the nitty-gritty about your life, it's best we talk in private. Okay, so Glenn's got a question for us today. I don't know, Glenn, your questions usually stump me. Let's see how I can do today. So my question today would be, if I'm an international student from Albania, do you think that the inflation, the pandemic, and now the war in Eastern Europe, applications for work permit might have a strong case? Okay, so you're thinking a work permit based on like humanitarian need, like strong, what is it, monetary necessity or something? I've always heard about people talking about that. And I think you're talking about like outside of the OPT, like restraints, trying to get an EAD based on like monetary necessity or humanitarian necessity or whatever it's called. I mean, I think it's worth a try, I guess. People always talk about those. I have never done any of that request. I don't really feel like I find good guidance or anything specific in the USCIS like adjudicators manual or anything that really supports that those are actually granted. So, what doesn't hurt to try? If you're already in status and you want to pitch it to them and make a good showing of evidence, it's not going to hurt. It would be a hard thing for me to try to charge you for, though, Okay, let's see what else we got. Thank you guys so much for asking questions. I love seeing all the familiar faces and seeing you guys pop up on Thursdays. It's a great part of my week. Pushes us on through to wrap up that week and have a great weekend. Okay, Brian Mara. Hi. What do you think about processing DS-260s from KCC? Are you asking about processing times, Brian? I don't know. Yeah, I don't have a pulse on that necessarily. Maybe you're talking about like till you get like how long will it take or something till you're documentally qualified? I think it just depends on a lot of different factors. I don't even know what sort of stage. Oh, here we go. Here we go. You've got more information. As you know, Brian, I can't remember all the details for everybody who asks questions, but thank you for having that confidence in my memory. As you know, I submitted my DS-260 in August. Do you have any idea when I will have a 2NL, especially my CN44K? No, I don't do this particular area enough to be able to just give you some sort of an idea. Now, August is like right? August is about 6 months prior. The way everything is rolling so slowly and backlogged, I don't think that you're necessarily in any sort of zone that I would think, oh my gosh, this has been pending a really long time. I'm thinking more like a year, and then I'm starting to feel like this is really weird. So, but you know, you can email KCC, see if they respond. That's what I do. Sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the oil. All right, so Joe, let me see. Puccini. Can I get refugee status if I'm Russian? I don't like this invasion. Okay. Refugee, like, so then you would be someone who is opposed to the government's actions. So that brings up a really good topic because people are, you know, all over really, really concerned. How do I get my relatives out? Either it's Russian relatives, Ukrainian relatives, like this stuff is starting to go really crazy. I know that I heard about Russian citizens protesting the government's attack of Ukraine, an invasion of Ukraine, that there were like demonstrations in the street. I haven't heard whether there was any sort of retribution or the government took any action against those protesters. But what your question basically gets to is I have a political difference, right? Difference of opinion politically than my government. So what will be seen is whether the government starts to clamp down on people who are demonstrating that they have a difference of political opinion. And where do we hear that sort of idea regarding political opinion and persecution for political opinion? Well, that's asylum. That's an asylum claim. Asylums are really, really hard to win. You've got to prove a lot of things. You've got to prove you're being targeted by the government for a protected ground. Now, political opinion is a protected ground. So we've got something there. Now, refugee is a very specific thing. Refugee is for people who are outside of the country, outside of the US, and there have already been determined that people in this certain category are refugees and there's a refugee program for them. So they go to a certain place and they start the refugee process and are certified as refugees and are able to be processed that way. I haven't heard that Russians have been qualified as refugees. So not yet, not yet. But you've got an asylum avenue potentially available. Potentially. I don't know that you're there yet because we haven't really seen. But of course, the international news isn't going to see everything that's going on the ground in Russia. So I'm watching that closely. I know that we did talk recently about the large number of Russians and I think it was Ukrainians as well that they're reporting are coming through the southern border. I just want to give you guys a little bit of information. Like I think there's a lot of talk that, oh, it works, right? You just get through the southern border. And then, you know, I even see these things about like, then you get $1,200 or I mean, these crazy memes that people post that are really, I don't even understand what they're talking about. Like you cross through the border and then you get money and citizenship. Like that's not even real. That's imaginary. Like those memes are not even based in any sort of reality. I'm an immigration lawyer. If I knew, I mean, if there was something like that, I would know about it, right? So I want to caution people, right? Everybody's trying to get out of these countries, trying to figure out what's next. Remember that if you cross through the border without permission, you put yourself into a whole different category where you can't necessarily just adjust status, right? You're going to have to maybe potentially have a waiver in the future, things like that. There's always a chance of parole, maybe, but the kind of parole that they give you may not be the kind that allows you to adjust your status here in the United States easily. So don't, like, I think people are thinking it's a quick fix, it'll like solve problems. It may be a temporary solution to a long-term problem, but it's only going to be a band-aid. Now, I just want to say that with the little asterisk that it is legal to enter the country without inspection with the intent to seek asylum. So that is lawful, and it's provided for under like treaties that our country has signed and all of that. But it's not an easy road. You're subjecting yourself to detention, long-term detention. You're subjecting yourself to having to argue an asylum claim without time or resources or your freedom. So please, if you have any other way, please try other avenues, right? Now, if you're a U.S. citizen, immediate relative of a U.S. citizen, we might see some factors, some ways to maybe ask for expedited processing. We all know that nothing's happening in Moscow, and I think I haven't seen that Ukraine has stopped processing visas, but I don't know that I really looked today. As most of you know, Moscow's work is being taken over by Warsaw right now, and more support sites are going to come online. Okay, I imagine. So just keep watching for that. I'll try to update you on that process as we go along. Okay, guidance on how to proceed with a same-sex marriage, U.S. and Mexico, as it pertains to legal status to be a resident, general information. Okay, I'd be happy to talk about that. I'll give you just a little nutshell. I started a few minutes late, so I'll try to go over a little bit. I do have a bunch of work to do, so I can't stay on too long. Okay, so same-sex marriages in the U.S. are, as far as for adjustment of status applications, are processed exactly the same as gender different marriages. So the big thing is if you entered with inspection and you're married to a U.S. citizen, you don't have any other bars to your admissibility, like certain kinds of criminal convictions or having left and re-entered without inspection after you were granted permission to enter, things like that. Then you should be able to file your packet all as like a one-step, right? The adjustment of status. It's really, really important in any marriage-based case that you provide as much documentation as possible. It's always challenging when an undocumented spouse doesn't have any documentation. So some banks won't let you get it on an account. Cable TV may not let you be added to the account, stuff like that. But you need to try to get both spouses added to everything possible. You want to do everything that you can to demonstrate that you're building a life together, right? You can do pictures of your family, things like that. I think that the USCIS perspective on what a normal or bona fide marriage is always sort of skewed. It's always seems like it is based on the officer or what their idea of an ideal or perfect, or that's not even the standard, but I'm just saying that's sort of their perspective, right? Of what a marriage is. And you may have a weird interview. You may face some responses or questions that seem inappropriate or unfair. This is where a lawyer can help you, right? So if you're filing an application and you want that extra support, and you feel maybe vulnerable to being treated unfairly, then that's when it's great to have a lawyer by your side. So we could go with you to the interview and make sure that we call out immigration on any sort of inappropriate questions, things like that, because they're not supposed to be invasive in your privacy. Okay, so Roberto, that probably would be a good topic for like a whole Facebook Live. All right, let's see. What is the processing time for the travel document? Okay, Fadi, we talked about that a minute ago in the context of advanced parole. I think you may be referencing the asylum travel document. I think it's around the same, 3 to 6 months. Good, Roberto, that's great. That's great. I think that is a great topic. How can I reach out to you if you would accept my case? You can call our office. I'm gonna put my, you know, I work in the South Georgia office. So I'm gonna type that right now. All right, I put that in the chat. I work in the South Georgia office. Call us directly, set up a consult, or if you're the kind of person that likes to self-book, which I am, you can go to our website. Up at the top, it'll say, I think, contact us and then schedule an appointment. And you can then select me and you'll have my availability right there in front of you. You can book it right there. And that is super easy. So I like self-booking myself a lot. I get to just type out my name. I don't have to spell it. And like, you know, that's always a challenging thing. Mohammed, hi. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining again. I love to see you. Okay, what about Build Back Better? Mohammed wants to know. We can always count on Mohammed to ask about Build Back Better. I don't have any updates on Build Back Better. I honestly have stopped even searching for it because I think it's so dead. Like, it's not going to happen. But it's good that you ask about it. Keep it fresh in our minds, and I will check and see if I can find anything about it. But as far as I'm concerned, Build Back Better is buried and gone. So I think gems have moved on. I don't know if they'll even try anything. We've heard like a lot of stuff that maybe they're talking about trying to propose. One of them that we talked about here was the bill that's being introduced trying to make immigration courts a neutral, or what is it? Like a more fair court by removing it from underneath the executive branch, Department of Homeland Security. I don't know. I think that's been brought up before. I don't know that it's actually been put in a bill before. I feel like they're kind of like not ineffective in general, like in total. They're not going to be able to pass something that's like a little bit more challenging, like anything related to immigration is kind of challenging right now. So, okay, let's see. Ariel Pires, thank you for the rose. I appreciate that. All right, Sabrina, if they pass a 10-year mark from the entry date, can they apply for the visa? Sabrina, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head on what you intended to ask here. Let me talk a little bit about, in general, visas. Like, I imagine you're asking about visitor visas. Whenever you get a visitor visa, you get it, it's just like a 10-year visa, or if you get a border crossing card, 10 years. But that's not how long you get to stay. That's just the time in which you can use it to enter and leave. I mean, you don't have to have a visa to leave, but you know what I mean. So when you come to the border with a visitor visa, they make a determination whether they think that you're going to violate the terms of that visa. For example, with a visitor visa, if they think you're going to work or that you're going to stay and not leave, then they think that you're going to violate the terms of the visa, because that would be counter to what you promised you were going to do when entering on a visitor visa. So they can give you, and then at their discretion, they can decide how long they want to allow you to stay, which could be 3 months, 6 months. We don't really see longer than that, but in general, you have to then leave by that time. So if you don't, then you have overstayed and you and you don't file any extension, change of stay, no other applications that would keep you in status, you begin to accumulate unlawful presence. When you get unlawful presence and then you leave the country, maybe to consular process or go see your mom who's sick or something, you may trigger a bar for inadmissibility, 3-year or 10-year bar, depending on how much accumulated unlawful presence you got. If you re-enter and then leave again, multiple entry bars is what we call them. You have to have first overstayed over a year, unlawful presence for over a year, left and re-entered without permission. That's what we call a permanent bar. It isn't technically permanent, but it's not waivable. So you have to sit out for 10 years. So I guess the question is, if someone used their 10-year visa to enter and exit with no problems, complied, they were always let in, they always left on time, can they get a new visitor visa for another 10 years? And the answer to that is yes. They can always deny or revoke a visa for whatever reason. Maybe they thought you traveled too much, on that previous visa. And they're like, this time the person's probably going to overstay. Who knows? They have a broad discretion. And they're supposed to follow certain rules, but they have broad discretion and they don't necessarily have to tell us everything. We can still try to sue them to find out what they were thinking. But anyway, the short answer, to summarize a long answer to your fairly short question, is yeah, you can try for a new visitor visa after 10 years. Sure. All right. Brian's asking, what do I think about immigration litigation for DV-22? I'm sure it's going to go great. I'm sure that if you want to join, you should. I think I read yesterday that they're still onboarding plaintiffs. I think it's hard to keep up with the immigration, the impact litigation team that our firm is a member of. But, the schedule's changed a little bit, I think, from them doing their Facebooks on Monday. I'm not sure if they do that anymore. But feel free to make sure you follow us on Twitter, because that's where you're going to find a lot of those immigration litigation updates with Mr. Kuck, or I think we have our own firm Twitter, and some of this stuff is shared there. So make sure if you're not on Twitter, now if you want immigration updates, it's a pretty great place to get them. All right. Karthik. Let's see. Okay. Can I move? Oh, this is a good question, Karthik. Can I move to another house once the H-1B amendment is approved? You need to update your address with immigration until you're a citizen. So you just need to keep doing that AR-11. You can now do it online. It's pretty easy. Just keep doing that address change within, I think it's 10 days of changing your address. Keep your address updated with immigration. Even if you don't have an application pending, you need to let them know where you are, so that if there is any correspondence they want to send you, that it can get to you. Because that's the worst, when they send you something that you totally could have taken action on, but you didn't get it. And so then your stuff just starts getting, unfortunately, out of control. And there is some kind of crazy law out there that if you don't change your address with immigration within, I think it's 10 days, we'd have to check that. And then it's it's an actual criminal charge they can charge you with. I don't think I think I saw it once. I saw somebody charged with it once. I think they were trying to get the guy on other stuff, and they charged him, and he actually was convicted of it. So yeah, it's a real thing. Keep your address updated. It's not hard now that it's online. Again, that's the AR-11 form. Just pop it in, get it done. All right. What is the process? Alma Guadalupe Hernandez. What's the process for U.S. citizen 21-year-old citizen son to petition for their parents' green card with no legal entry in the U.S.? Alma, this is such a good question. Because, I mean, I think I probably answered this question at least once a month on here, but it's one of those things that I'm always asked. Many people think that you can just, once your kid turns 21, that's it. It's not that simple, but it's not impossible, right? So the things we check for, as you know, without a legal entry, you may have to do a waiver to waive unlawful presence. That's a 601A waiver. Problem with that for a lot of people in this scenario is that U.S. citizen children don't count as qualifying relatives for that waiver. So a lot of times it doesn't solve the problem unless you, as the beneficiary, so you're the person that your son is petitioning for, you, the beneficiary, have to have a qualifying relative that is your parent or your spouse who's a green card holder or U.S. citizen. Those are the qualifying relatives. So in some cases, when the U.S. citizen child is the only immediate relative with status, then that waiver is not available. So what do we look at? What are the other options? The other two main options for an adjustment petition is going to be parole in place. So if that U.S. citizen child is in the military, National Guard, has already served and was honorably discharged, then you could potentially get the parole in place. Parole in place works really well when there's no criminal history, never been in removal proceedings, or not currently in removal proceedings, things like that. Parole in place gets you that entry. So basically, they're paroling you where you are. So you get that entry with inspection, that legal entry that allows you to then file the adjustment petition. You can file it as a one-step, or you can do the I-130, then the parole in place, then the 45. There's a couple of different ways, order of production that you can do it in, but that's a great way. Another way is deferred action. If there's some sort of really significant, maybe health-related matter, that just gives you a temporary reprieve. So it doesn't necessarily, if your U.S. citizen child maybe has something really significant and they need you here, that's a thing. Another, some of you parents are young enough that you might qualify for DACA. You might have DACA. If you have DACA, go ahead and use your advanced parole. Travel out, get your stamp with advanced parole, travel out, get your stamp, you come back, you have your legal entry, and you can do that immediate relative petition. Another that you have to look for is 245I, where you, a beneficiary, grandfathered in, or a derivative of a 245I petition. A lot of us have family members, grandparents that received their status as a part of the Reagan amnesty and then filed for their brothers and their sisters, their parents, their children. So that's another way that without the entry, with the 245I eligibility, you pay the $1,000 fine and you can adjust here on an immediate relative petition. So yeah, there's a lot to it, a lot to double check to make sure that you are eligible for one of those paths. And I love when we figure out that you are, even if you've got like a couple of different options, which one do you want to do? All right. So guys, I've got to wrap it up soon. I may not get to all your questions because it seems like people keep posting questions, which is so great. Thank you so much for everybody for joining. Let's see what I can get to as quickly as possible. And I don't want to talk too quickly because I don't want you to then not be able to understand me or follow me because I can talk too fast sometimes. All right, a question about DV 2022. Okay, well, Jamal, I don't have any specific commentary about DV 2022. I'm hoping that it all goes smoothly. There is litigation on the table for that. I don't really have any specific thoughts about that. All right. Any news from Lauthenberg program? Gosh, I haven't heard that in a long time. For religious minorities. Which that program allowed people to just file to adjust their status, I'm pretty sure. It's been a long time since I've even looked at that whole scheme. So RM, I don't have, there's no news on it. Like there's nothing new. Could they use it, maybe reinstitute it for something related to what's going on now? Maybe, but I haven't seen anything new. So maybe I missed it. It's totally possible. There's so much going on in immigration law all the time. All right, Antonia Arias, I have 15 years in the USA and I want to know, I can't get a visa or work permit or something legal. Okay, this is the exact scenario where you need to do a consult, Antoni. Okay, let's do a consultation. Then I can ask you all the specific questions about what happened in your life, you know, what your situations are, and we'll see if we can find you something that you can apply for, that you're eligible for to help you get your status or some path in the future. Some of the questions that I might ask you, you know, are going to be in a consultation are going to be, what sort of relatives do you have with status? Have you ever been a victim of a crime? Things like that, okay? So quick follow-up. Marriage. Oh my gosh, so many little icons. Can you comment on physical location of the Mexican person, documented, undocumented, in country, out, unlawfully proceed, make this okay, why don't we make it an entire topic? I mean, it's the same for different gender marriages, but you know, where someone is, whether they've been documented, whether they've been undocumented, all of that stuff is going to affect which avenue is available for them, if there's even an avenue available. So yeah, those are big, huge things. Okay, my husband went and left and came back 10 years ago. Can I apply for him? Okay, Sabrina, that's a great question. Yeah, so a lot of times if people are subject to certain bars, once they sit out 10 years, then you can apply for them to be readmitted. Yeah, that's definitely an option. The only time where things get a little bit hairy is going to be certain criminal convictions. So certain criminal convictions can make you completely ineligible to re-enter the country. And then some are waivable through a 212H waiver. And then there's, if the crime is more than 15 years old, there's another category on that waiver. So yeah, if it's just a straight situation where you had some inadmissibility bars, like a removal order bar or a bar for unlawful presence, sitting out 10 years is the way to go. And then we can file to bring him back. Yeah, and we'd love to help you with that. Please feel free to reach out to me. Okay, all right, Ariel, take care. Thank you for joining. Yeah, I'm running really long today. I'm giving you guys as much of my time as I can. Janet, let's see if I can answer your question really, really quick, and then I'm going to jump off. Okay, my green card expires May 20th. Conditional, I am a spouse citizen. I receive a letter, a carta, that day that I need to remove the restrictions within 90 days before May. What will happen if I don't get it in on time or before the May 20th? Well, I hope this in the document for ASAP, but I don't know. Okay, what you're talking about, just so everybody knows, is called the I-751. That letter is so scary, and it's like meant to be scary, I guess, to make people fill out the form and send it in time. But it's a little bit like more dramatic than it needs to be. I don't want you to take that to mean don't file your stuff as soon as possible. But I will tell you that you can late file an I-751 under certain circumstances. You also technically remain a green card holder through a certain period of time. So don't stress. Get it done. If you want some help, or if like circumstances are a little bit weird, maybe you and your spouse are having a rough time right now, considering divorce, or like you're separated or something, and you just aren't really sure how to do that request to remove conditions, reach out to us, because we do a lot of those. And there are several different boxes on that form. You can file that under several different circumstances. You can waive the joint filing requirement. You can also late file for certain circumstances, and we can help you maybe navigate the joint filing circumstances. So feel free to reach out. We can help you get that done. And Janet, try not to stress too much. You'll be all right. Okay. Folks, it was great being with you. Have a great weekend, a great Friday and a great weekend. Feel free to email me, message me with any questions, or give us a call to book a consultation. Of course, remember, I'm in South Georgia, so if you want to meet with me and you're in the Atlanta area, you're probably going to need to do it through phone or Zoom. You're welcome. If you are in North Florida, South Georgia, or you just want to go for a drive and come see South Georgia, you're welcome to book in-person consultations. We're doing that again. So far, so good. So thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Take care, everybody. Bye.